Wherefore Series 2, Episode 13. Ursula wakes up in the woods. This happens to her sometimes. It is not a total surprise. Normally she is in control of her bear self, and it is a conscious choice whether she puts on the bear skin or not. Sometimes it isn't. Or perhaps more accurately, sometimes it is her bear self who is making all the conscious choices. As a bear, she is mostly chilled so long as no one bothers her. If she can hang out in the woods, wandering about and napping, all is well. She likes to swim in the lakes at Winchester at twilight, warm in her bear skin, bothering the fish and ducks in amusing ways. Some part of their genetic memory clearly includes the knowledge that bears are not good news for them. But at the same time, it has been a while since any of their ancestors last saw a bear, and they don't really know what to do. Waking up partially a bear brings back memories of the first time, and that makes her smile. She was 14, waking heavy and sluggish under a tree, wondering what she'd had to drink, and coming into the groggy realization that her body had changed. Feeling hot and weird, she'd pulled off the bear skin while hardly realizing what it was. Although the situation made no sense, she felt at once the preciousness of the skin she had removed, and folded it up with reverence, and carried it home. Meeting her grandmother in the front garden wasn't a surprise. The cheery, "Hello, love," the thoughtful once-over, the attention falling on the folded skin, the slow nod. "Thought so," she said. "Came over especially. Had a feeling. Come back to mine, we need to talk." Granny had always been a bit earthy for Stroud hippiedom, and a bit too otherworldly to fit in anywhere else either. An odd, grumpy, solitary creature. She and Ursula had an understanding that didn't involve much talking. Cake. Then beer, once she was older. Granny considered 12 old enough for beer. Foraging, baking, and the perpetually changing tribe of rescued wild things recovering around the house. Even now, Ursula misses the way that house smelled. The light on dust motes in the late afternoon, and the copious amounts of food. Ursula was always hungry. It is a conversation that will stay with her forever. Not in every generation, Granny says, very much alive and present in her mind. I thought you might be. You look like one of us. She unlocks the chest, and from the chest lifts out her own bear skin, which is large and luscious. "Keep yours safe," Granny instructs. "Wear it when you want to, when you have to. Stomp about in the moonlight now and then." This was the moment when young Ursula knew herself truly for the first time, became herself, and felt her own place in the world. She is a bear woman from a long line of bear women, and they are always with her, in her bones and in her fur. Today the bear is dominant and the skin doesn't want to come off. She lies on the woodland floor enjoying the early morning sun and listening to the birds. Sometimes you just have to go with the bear. She's tried pushing against this and taken the skin off, only to find that her human skin is thick with fur and inclined to just form a new pelt. Sometimes the bear is very much in control, and that's fine. Now she knows to just go with it. Ursula is enjoying lockdown. No one is driving much, and she prefers the quiet. Better still, as no one feels they can drive, the woods and hills around Stroud have far fewer people than usual, especially first thing in the morning. She likes not having to share the woods with normal people and their dogs, their phones, their mountain bikes, their obnoxious children. Ursula is not a people person, nor, for that matter, a people bear. After a while she works out where she is. This is Standish Wood, and she's not far from the barrow there. She doesn't come up here very often, and it does raise some interesting challenges for getting home. She plots the route in her head. She can go some way through the fields, and then it may have to be a rampage over fences and through gardens, which might be entertaining. Most people are oblivious enough not to see her from their windows. Often when people do see her, they look away as though intent on pretending they have not seen her at all. Disbelief works well for her. Screen addiction helps too. People gazing at mobile phones tend not to notice unexpected bears, or ghostly mammoths, or any of the other strange things who are out and about. Stroud always has been a bit odd, what with the saints, the fairy paths, the hauntings, and the whole Ditchley Yap business, but even so, there seems to be a lot more otherworldly activity of late. A lot more otherwise normal people are being touched with strangeness and magic. Ursula feels more at home with this development. She likes people a lot more when they turn out to be weird, mad, magical, cursed, or enchanted. It makes them less predictable. As she sets off, Ursula notes a small herd of horses amongst the trees. It takes her a minute to work out what is odd about them. They're all spotty, like horse Dalmatians. Ursula cannot recall ever having seen a spotty horse before. They aren't quite like other horses. Something about the shape of them is unfamiliar, but she can't quite decide what. She stops to watch them for a while. They seem solid and of this world, which is always worth checking. The horses keep their distance, but are not bothered by her as far as she can tell. Something odd is going on here. They don't seem like domesticated horses, and anyway, where would they have come from? People with horses don't tend to let them escape easily. They might be Romani traveller horses, she supposes, except they look wrong for that, and the Romani are always careful about tethering their horses. She tends to think of fairy creatures as being white, that being what you tend to find in the folklore, sometimes with red ears. That's not what's happening here. She thinks if they were fairy horses, her bear instincts would have kicked in, alerting her to the danger. Ursula often can't tell what she's looking at or where it came from. Her bear self, however, has very clear ideas about what is dangerous and what isn't. From inside her bare skin, she feels perfectly at ease with these horses. So, they aren't fairy horses. She turns away and heads off down through the fields. Another unsolved mystery, which is fine. She does not need to know what's going on. Life is more interesting when there aren't obvious explanations for everything.